Cricbuzz Chatter at the end of day one of this Mumbai Test match, where India entered in the very unfamiliar situation of being 0-2 down, did pretty well for 6 hours. And then, you know how we are as a hospitable society, it's Deepavali. We said, you deserve something too. And so India finished the day at 86 for 4 in a 15 minutes that were difficult to comprehend. But it was a very good day's cricket before that. 235 that Mitchell played well, Young played well, Jadeja bowled beautifully. Washington Sundar showed that maybe there is a passing of the baton. And after a difficult start, Shubman Gill played well. Yashasvi Jaiswal's 30. We're going to talk about that. So, but India's still 149 runs behind. DK is very appropriately always positive, always thinking of the morrow. Here I'm wearing a dark colored t-shirt and he's wearing this bright yellow, ochre, lemon, call it what you will, with tomorrow emblazoned on it. He's tomorrow's person. Yeah, I was trying to make it very nice and jolly and lively at the end of one of the most chaotic 20-25 minutes I've seen, DK.
It is a day of what could have been, Harsha. I mean, the way India had set it up with the ball as well, they had their moments, came back when given an opportunity, did that well. You felt that India had done well enough to restrict New Zealand to that score. And in came the batters, Rohit Sharma, not the best of shots, again getting out pretty early. This is a nice little partnership. And you thought, okay, they're going to take India to a very safe place and then come back tomorrow and do things. And the last 15 minutes, my goodness, kind of sums up the series for me. When things go wrong, just tends to go very wrong, doesn't it?
What I thought was, since you are wearing all the bright colors, I'll make life a little bit more difficult for you. And straight away, we are going into the slog overs. We are going into hotspot. Okay. DK, there were a few things that were great for India today, and there were a few things that hurt. You talked about those last 15 minutes. What would hurt India more? Was it the reverse sweep when he was batting beautifully? Was it the night watchman's choice of review? Or was it that run out?
If I had to do it in the order, it would be Jaiswal's reverse sweep for a start, followed by the run out, and then Siraj's LBW, which obviously we speak more about the fact that he took a review. We'll keep that to a slightly different tone a little bit later. But let's talk about Jaiswal. You know, no matter what you say, a lot like what your background is, people like old school cricket, nostalgia, and you try and put that modern days hat today and say, what is the modern player trying to do? Maybe a bit of lack of defense, and the current Indian coach also came and said the evolution of T20 has decreased the quality of defense unlike before. Fine. So hence what the modern day player has done is play a lot more shots, which is what he ends up practicing a lot more. Then we come to this very trivial aspect of batting, very old school, is timing. I just think Yashasvi's choice of shot is fine 15 minutes before day's play. I can understand if there's an alarming amount of turn, bounce, he's not able to deal with it, needs to put pressure back on Ajaz Patel. He was giving away the single. He was saying, boss, I can't bowl to you right now. You just take the single. I'm happy you're sweeping me, or, they're taking me down the ground. I'm happy to give you a single. And then that shot comes out of nowhere. And I think the couple of visuals that followed soon after the shot, and you saw in that, was Gautam Gambhir and R. Ashwin. They wanted to react a lot more, but I think they were looking at the big screen and figuring out if they were being shown, and they just toned down what was their surprise at that point, or that ghastly expression, if I may say so, at that point of time, summed up everything they felt. Because when the sailing was good, they expected it to just take India to a safe place and then come back tomorrow and fight it out again, which is how it is done. But that shot, I think the timing of it, I don't have a problem with the choice of shot, Harsha. And I think, knowing you, you're also somebody who's trying to evolve very quickly with the modern day game. And I don't think you would also look at it and say, kya shot mara hai? You'll be like, the shot is okay, the timing. Is that what you have a problem with as well, Harsha?
Problem with the shot because he's played it successfully, and he played it in that innings too. So It's a shot he plays well. The modern player says, look, if I've got a shot that I play well, I'll play the shot. Now we've come to a stage where New Zealand are running out of ideas. And Gill is just come out of a shaky start. So he is looking good. This is your opportunity to say, tomorrow morning, I'm 180 for one. And I'm 180 for one, and I'm closing the door on New Zealand. That was my only issue with Yashasvi Jaiswal. So yeah, the timing sometimes, I think, as you rise in your profession, you acquire that sense of what to do when. And but my view is a little more liberal, because because I have discovered, DK, and that's something you've not needed to discover, that it's a very easy game from 100 meters away. And all the choices you talk about from 100 meters away are always the most perfect. Whereas sometimes there's a lot going on in your brain, which brings me to the third point in the hot spot, which is that single that Virat Kohli took. And my thought on that is, even the very, very greatest, and all of you making memes on Virat Kohli, do remember that even the greatest are allowed to have a period of fuzzy decision making. We've seen that with Virat Kohli now. Twice in 2 games, we've seen that. One, the cross-batted shot against the full toss. Now this. But when things are not going your way, then sometimes your decision making can get affected. And I wonder, DK, if that is what was going on in his mind. Very unlike Virat Kohli to want to get away from the strike in the last 5 minutes. The Kohli that I've known and appreciated and admired over the years is someone who's waded into situations. Do you think he was actually trying to get off the strike? And if that is true, to me, that is what will hurt more.
Has to be notion. Every batter ideally doesn't want to be playing the last 5-8 minutes as a new batter. If you're already set, then it's fine. But if you're just walking in, you've already sent a night watchman, hoping that he'll do the job for you. But in case he doesn't, then you have to walk out there. And it's a bit of a nothing to gain kind of situation. You can't score runs in that situation. All you're doing is looking to survive. Add to the fact that the pitch is turning and the odd one going straight, it's going to test your defense. And in this series, the New Zealand bowlers have shown in the Indian batters at times how vulnerable they could be. Put everything together, and it's but natural to want to try and get off strike if there's an opportunity. Did he choose the right fielder? Did he choose the right shot option? Or most importantly, did he choose the right area to take a single? We also speak about, it's a bad run, yes, but also great effort by Matt Henry to come and pick up one hand in one go. A lot of fielders, as soon as you take it in two hands, you lose that time. What he did was, he got into a side-on position as he was running, and he was literally flicking the ball with the momentum of him running, which is a phenomenal piece of fielding. But yes, to answer your question, it was a run chosen so that he could go to the non-strikers. And that comes with everything that's happening around.
Direct hits to the non-strikers and India versus New Zealand key games. We're not going to go into that, DK. We're not going to go into that. But I just thought that it was a risky single all along. It wasn't a safe single all along. That was my only issue. But there you are. Is there something about India's decision making in this series? I mean, Rohit Sharma has gone out and said, "Look, I made a mistake in Bangalore," but generally pushing Sarfaraz down again, maybe, playing too fast bowler sometimes. As the decision making to you looked like it's a little uncertain?
This series has definitely not been one of India's strong series tactically. I don't think we are being wrong when we're saying that. It is, right from the outset, the decisions taken, be it the 11, the toss, it hasn't been on point. And to be fair to them, it's very hard also, Harsha, to get decisions right consistently. What happens is you have the skill sets of players who do well and kind of give a placebo effect to a lot of the decisions, where it just runs over what the superficial nature of what decision making could be by the skill of the player coming through. And that hasn't. So when you add some ordinary decisions being made with the fact that the player hasn't, or the players haven't, really fired as much as you would have liked, it compounds the whole situation and makes it look a lot worse.
Right, we've talked about Kohli, we've talked about Jaiswal. I think there's another issue that is worrisome. 80 runs in 5 innings. for Rohit Sharma? Is it merely form? Is it decision making in the shots that he is playing? Is it a little looseness that might have crept in through his extraordinary displays in white ball cricket? But Rohit Sharma's form is now formally, officially a worry.
I won't even for a second think it's form. And I'll say that because of the shots that he's playing while he's lasting at the crease. When you're not in form, you can't play the kind of shots he's playing, Harsha. Back foot punch of a good ball, a slight error in length, and he makes up with a cover drive. So he's getting into good positions to play those shots. I think what is happening is what's happening between the ears. And that is something only Rohit can help himself. He is, as we all know, a world class player. The tempo at which he plays is phenomenal. I mean, you don't require to play at that tempo sometimes, but he chooses to play in that tempo. Today he came in with a normal tempo. There are games when he goes slam bang, but today he came in a normal tempo. But what worried me was the choice of shot. It was a ball on and around the off stump or fourth stump. He ended up kind of flicking it, like closing the face on it. That is definitely not good. And there are better shot options for that ball, be it anything. And even the first shot that he played, in an ideal world, you would have wanted to hit it over point convincingly. Just went over Will Young's head. And I know you and I were on the commentary at that stage. Just scraped his fingers. Another day that could have been a catch as well. But yes, I don't think it's been Rohit Sharma's strong series for that matter. I think Team India have had a very okay series so far with the ball and with the bat. And, you have to say that they are way better than that. And this series has not been anywhere close to the legacy that they have left in the last 18 series.
You look at the scorecard now, the way it stands, and India 149 runs behind, 86 for 4, and you think, oh, New Zealand bowled well today, maybe. I'm not sure they actually did, because a new ball, yeah, Matt Henry, we talked about the wicket of Rohit Sharma, but India had started to attack Glenn Phillips. He's going at 6 and over. India were attacking Ajaz Patel. He was looking a little short of ideas. Rachin Ravindra's 1 over was expensive. I'm not sure New Zealand have actually bowled very well today.
And I think that's absolutely spot on, Harsha. And that's why you would be even more disappointed with the decisions taken today. Because I really don't think it has been New Zealand's best day with the ball. We saw Mitchell Santner, what he did in Pune. Now, that's high quality. He bought batsmen out with his skill. Bowled one slow, bowled one quick, used the crease, etc. But today, India were on top of the spinners for a lot of the time. They were defending comfortably. Yes, they were getting beaten the odd ball for sure. And as you said, Shubman Gill was scratchy at the start. It felt like he had an inside edge and that was lucky. It hit his pad bat, in fact. And there was one that went next to slip. All of that was happening. But amidst all of that, India were actually hitting boundaries at will, taking singles at will. And that partnership had become a very fruitful, successful one till that moment of madness came. And then it was Harakiri. There was no stopping that. But yes, to answer your question, it was nowhere close to how good New Zealand have bowled so far. In Bengaluru, in the first innings, now that is high quality. The pitch also helping. In Pune, definitely Mitchell Santner. But this, I really believed, Harsha, that India would get 300 to 350. Not to say that they can't get it from here, but they've dug themselves into a bit of a hole for sure.
Before we finish today's Cricbuzz Chatter, what on India's bowling now? 235. When you win the toss and get bowled out for 235, you're not happy. Sometimes you can tell yourself this track is doing a little bit. 235 on this track is not 235 on a normal first day pitch. So maybe 235 is not that bad. I thought at one point I thought India could have got them 20 runs earlier, but you know how we are always expecting a little bit more from the home side. I thought all things considered, India did really well to keep them to 235. I want to talk to you about four performances, really. We'll go them one by one. Let's go India's bowling. The pace at which Jadeja bowled and the 5 wickets that he got, and Washington Sundar starting slowly at key moments to get a preference with the ball over Ravichandran Ashwin.
The two things that you saw in a very big manner was Akashdeep having more of an effect with the new ball, definitely more than Siraj, and Washington Sundar slowly showing what his skill set is. And for sure, you have to admit that he's bowled better than R. Ashwin in this series. And it's not got to do with the number of wickets, not the results that I always see. It's the way he is bowling, the way the ball is coming out of his hand. You feel like something is happening every over he bowls. And that is what Ashwin used to make us feel consistently for a long period of time. Washington is doing that right now. The way the ball is coming out of his hand, he troubled the left-handers, which is a good sign. Be it a Tom Latham, which was a beautiful delivery, and so was Rachin Ravindra. Thrice on the go now, he's got Rachin Ravindra bowled, who we had touted as the best batter of the series so far. So that calls for something. And throw in Jadeja. Now, you always speak about Jadeja and his all-round skills, but the man had a very ordinary test match in Pune. And as we all know, good players find a way to bounce back. And here he is, showing us that I am still here, very much the all-rounder that you're looking for, the fifer that was most required because he broke through whenever India needed. Yes, there was a partnership where India were looking timid and insipid, but the moment they got that Will Young's wicket, they didn't look back after that. They kept putting pressure back and were relentless.
He said something interesting when I did that post-game flash with him, where I asked him about the pace at which he was bowling. He was almost consistently above 90. I know from time to time when he turned the ball, he would drop a little below 90, but he was going about 92, 93 kilometers an hour. He said, you have to be quick in the air because off the pitch, even though there is bounce, it's not hurrying off the pitch. It's actually stopping a little bit and coming off the pitch. So he said, therefore, he needed to bowl at that speed. Maybe you could say that about Washington Sundar as well. But don't forget that the conditions that affect the batter also affect the bowlers. It was ridiculously hot. If you're from Chennai, will you understand how hot it was? It was oppressive. And the reason I bring that up is I want to praise that innings of Daryl Mitchell. Because I think when he was down, I thought his shot making reflected what he was doing when he was tired. And then there's a magician sitting in that New Zealand change room. I don't know what that magician did in the change room. The Mitchell who came out after tea was a different player. I just thought 82 at a strike rate of 63 was an outstanding innings.
There are innings which you describe by the kind of boundaries that you play. There are innings that you describe by how tough the situation was. Today was all about weather and handling that. And that Daryl Mitchell did very well. The middle session, Harsha, he got 11 runs in the first session before lunch. And when he came back for the middle session, now that was the key session. The sun was at its hottest at that point of time. That 2-hour session, the fact that he played through it just tells me he's mentally very tough. He's someone who's earned his black cap and he values it a lot, because a lot of players would have played a silly shot or just out of sheer physical exhaustion would have done something that could have resulted in their wicket being thrown, and he didn't do that. And that for me speaks volumes about Daryl Mitchell's keenness to play test cricket. He goes around the world and plays leagues as well, but that session tells you a lot about how much he values playing test cricket.
Yeah, I mean, there was one time when there were 3 runs available and he took 1. Then Glenn Phillips, who comes in. I mean, I'm sure Glenn Phillips at home is forever walking around, running into things. He seems that kind of person. I know a couple of people like that, but we won't take names. But Glenn Phillips has turned for the second, and Mitchell hasn't even finished his first, but he realized that is what he needed to do. So that was the Phillips innings. That was the Mitchell innings. Every time I see Will Young, I like his composure. I mean, I did say that for a while he reminded me of Zach Crawley, who plays a lot more shots, but is tall like him, gifted like him. But I like his composure. At the end of the day, you say, what are the great shots Will Young played? I don't know. But his composure is what I admire today. But you're looking at it from a different lens than I am.
If you have to speak about the technical prowess, obviously he's very strong square of the wicket. He's employed the sweep to good effect. And in between that, because he's a pretty defensive player, when they brought the field up, he's hit over, mid-on especially. Now, this is his technical side. Again, for me, if I look at a Will Young, it is grabbing an opportunity, Harsha. Kane Williamson was the designated number 3 in the series, out because of an injury, comes in, plays on a tough pitch in Bangalore, gets a start, gets out. Second innings, helps New Zealand cross the line. In Pune, he fought hard, got a 30. So he's showing everything that he wants to be out there and do everything possible to make a contribution like all other players would, but he's applying himself. He's not the most gifted player. He doesn't have a bunch of shots. So he's not going to be the most attractive player. But what he is doing is having a very effective game plan. He's trusting his defense. Even if the ball is turning, he's playing down the line instead of playing a lot more for the turn, which a lot of good players have been doing in this series. So that is a big plus. And it is about understanding and valuing what it means to score runs outside of your comfort zone. For Indians, it is definitely scoring in the Sena countries. For New Zealanders, the moment they take a flight to Asia, that is their biggest challenge. And that he has conquered with just his mental approach. And that I admire in Will Young.
We talk about 235 from India's point of view. From New Zealand's point of view, they were 159 for 3 when that turning point came, with Jadeja spinning one across, getting the outside edge, and Rohit Sharma taking that catch. Not the other Rohit Sharma catch, where I was on.
That you.
Honestly, when he fell to his right, I thought it had flown off the outside edge. And the moment I saw the replay, I was, yeah, okay. But that happens. Let's come back. Mention it before someone else does. That turning point also brings us back to Ravindra Jadeja very briefly, because in those 5 wickets today, he went past so many bowlers. Lance Gibbs, one of the great spin bowlers of our times, on 309. Zahir Khan, Ishan Sharma, 311. He went past Mitch Johnson and is now in the top 5. So we talk about the all-rounder, but if Jadeja was a pure bowler, I think he can still be proud of. 314 wickets. When you start your career, someone tells you 314, you say, Namaskar, Dora, thank you very much.
Harsha, we speak a lot about Rahul Dravid because he made full use of his talent. And I think Jadeja is a bit like that with bowling. Had limited skills, but I think he's maximized how potent he could be as a player, or rather as a bowler. And hence I have a lot of respect for Ravindra Jadeja. With his batting, he always had a certain amount of skill set. But with his bowling, he is a pretty limited bowler. And he's done very well for himself.
Okay, so there you are then. Those were the lead events for today. But we will now go back to what is written on DK's shirt. Tomorrow. Let's go fast forward. Now, in spite of what happened in the last 20 minutes or so, I'm looking at this 149 runs behind. Shubman Gill looks like he's come good on the surface. 10 minutes of batting tomorrow. If he continues batting like this, will be good. Rishabh Pant, Sarfaraz Khan, Washington Sundar, Ravindra Jadeja, Ravichandran Ashwin. If you can't get 150 runs between you, or in fact, even 220 runs between you, then there's a problem. So I think my view is about tomorrow, the last 20 minutes have taken a lot of the gloss off, but India would still be ahead in this game if they have a good first session tomorrow.
That's the hope, Harsha. And, I have a bad joke to crack. I'll crack it before I forget. This is tomorrow. But if you change that M, it becomes sorrow very quickly if you lose a couple of wickets. Just putting it out there, Harsha. You don't need to laugh. It's okay. I know you're a very nice person and all. It's okay. Every joke of mine doesn't need to be very funny, Harsha. Sometimes even I have to crack bad jokes.
Trying to find an S somewhere in my house.
No. But on a serious note, I feel for India, whatever you profess so far, which is 150 runs or even 200 runs, definitely is possible. As I said below, believe that 350 is the score that India would get. And I still believe it just with the names you have read out in the last 2 minutes. Shubman Gill, Sarfaraz Khan, you have Jadeja, Ashwin, everybody, the Rishabh Pant, all of those guys put together now. Come on, they're capable of taking India. All it takes is 2 partners. Because the one thing that we did see, when one partnership happens, it feels like there's nothing happening. When Will Young and Daryl Mitchell were batting, it felt like there is nothing in the pitch. They were taking singles at ease, they were rotating strike, they were hitting the odd boundary because the gaps were always there. So India needs a little bit of patience and a partnership, and they can control the game still. What they could have done if they were 86 for 1, well, we'll discuss about that another day. But for the moment, at 86 for 4, India have to do very well in the first half an hour, 40 minutes, because they will bowl pace up front. and there could be a little bit of movement, as is always the case in Mumbai because of the red soil pitches. But once they get through that, the spinner will come on, and that's their opportunity to score runs and also build a big partnership.
You used a very interesting word that I did not think someone of your generation would use much, and that is patience. Patience was something that defined our generation because we always had to make the most of what there was. So,
you know what, Harsha? I really feel a Gambhir and a Rohit Sharma will have a strong word with the boys, because it's one thing to allow things to happen when the going is good and you see results coming your way. That means things are happening in a certain way. The dynamics is good. But there comes a breaking point no matter who it is, Harsha. And I think today could have been one of those days. I hear from the visuals, Rohit was probably a little visibly upset with what has happened, what has transpired. But there will be a line in the sand when the coach and the captain put it and say, okay, enough is enough. I think there is a point where we need to apply ourselves. And what does apply mean? Using patience and the freedom to score with your shots in a very responsible manner. Now, that is the line that they will be drawing and saying, this is what we expect. I don't think they're after good-looking 30s.
Who's ahead in the game, in your view? Who's ahead in the game at this stage, in your view?
New Zealand, 86 for 4. New Zealand are ahead as so far.
One of the four is Siraj, though.
Still, Harsha. 86 for 3. 3 good batters out in the shed, with Virat Kohli being one, Rohit Sharma being one. I believe that New Zealand is ahead.
I don't know. I'm actually, normally I always bow. I like DK's view on the game very much, as you know. So you can close your eyes, DK, and pretend you're not hearing. But I don't know. I'm in these matters. I think India is not behind in this game. Because as we said, with that batting, if you cannot get a lead in this game, so you've got to 86, effectively 86 for 3. So I'm actually going 60-40 India ahead at this stage, maybe, but it's a different point of view. It's like the
I have a different point of view, Harsha, and I believe India can turn it around. I believe New Zealand are ahead right now, purely because the last 15 minutes. But I genuinely believe India can turn it around, because the difference between a Bengaluru and a Pune pitch to Mumbai is this bounce, Harsha. When it skids and goes straight or turns and it keeps slow, then it's a bit of a problem. LBW is always an issue. But because of the bounce of the Mumbai soil, a lot of times, that's why you saw very little LBWs today. Unlike in Pune or Bengaluru, that will work in India's favor. Shot making will be a lot easier. And put all these things together and the skill of the Indian players, I feel they can still dominate proceedings tomorrow. But as I said, patience.
Tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow is actually a very tense day for a lot of people, I must tell you. Tomorrow is a tense day, not just for people on the field. Tomorrow is also a tense day for some people in the box. Very tense. And very tense because, when we were in Chennai, DK made the cardinal sin of inviting us to his home for dinner. And I went to his house for dinner and I said, the house will start now. And then I turned right and I said, the house will start now. Then I turned left. This is all inside the house. And I said, the house will start now. And I just looked around. I could live in his house for a week. He won't even know. And now tomorrow, the mighty DK in his yellow t-shirt is coming home for dinner, and I'm very tense.
I'm telling you, Harsha, I'm looking forward to seeing what non-vegetarian would mean in a vegetarian man's home. That I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to.
And you're worried about the story of that stork, no? The stork and when he invites the stork home for dinner and offers a plate. Now, how can the stork eat in a plate?
Oh, yeah.
So then the stork invites the other guy home and serves dinner in a pitcher. And he says, okay, how are you going to eat from the pitcher? So you're very worried about it. Don't worry. There is non-veg food. Don't worry. You will be well looked after.
I must applaud you, Harsha. For the first time, I'm seeing you. You always present a very happy, cheerful image, but behind you, very impressed by the background, Harsha. Very nice.
That is the cricket that we used to play as kids. So I just got that painting made.
Very
nice. You'll see that very often now. I'm so happy that my backdrop is like that. Normally, I've got the curtain behind me and you did the So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens tomorrow. We always say the first hour is crucial, but I think if India build a partnership of even 50, 60, 70 between Rishabh and Shubman, then I think this game is moving India's way. Let's see what happens. We will be back tomorrow. with
Harsha,
Cricbuzz Chatter.
one point. I just
Ayo,
want
ayo,
to
now what?
wish all our chatter fans a very, very
Ah,
happy Diwali.
Amma, I thought I'd forgotten something and you're coming at me.
They're so
Namaskara,
good at this
happy
job, Harsha,
Deepavali.
forget anything. That's the problem.
Happy Deepavali to all of you. May this beautiful festival of lights that we have. I love it. I have very happy memories of Deepavali as a child. This beautiful, happy festival of lights may bring all of you a lot of joy and may lead to a lot more color on DK's t-shirts as well. But his problem is sifting through the 396 shirts and t-shirts that he has.
On that note, thank you
see,
so much. We will be
see
back
you
tomorrow.
tomorrow. See you tomorrow.